What is up, everybody? I am here to give you guys my final rewatching recap and thoughts on Fate Zero second season on episode 12. And of course, my final thoughts and impressions about it. Now, just rewatching again. I know many of you guys, those of you guys who watch my videos and even watch my Fate Zero videos, will go like, why did you have this episode recap so late? Well, you should have it done maybe last month or so, or etc. Let's just say some things got a little issued and complicated because those of you guys who've been keeping up and watching my videos will understand that I would usually watch a Fate Zero episode after a Fate Apocrypha episode. But apparently, because there was some subbing issues here and there, it had to be on the weekdays and not usually on the weekends. There was one day that could have been on the weekend, but I became Mr. Lazy Boy and had my own issues with it. But aside from that, just me watching this episode just gives me a lot of nostalgia of what I felt, and now just rewatching it again made me understand, like, why the hell did you not understand it back then? So if anything else, let's go. We had to it that Kiritsugu himself ordered Saber with his last command seal to destroy the Holy Grail, and after Saber struck the Holy Grail with her noble phantasm, Excalibur, she ends up realizing that this is her punishment for not understanding the heart of a man or even others who served before her. And therefore, even though Kiritsugu managed to hit the Grail with the noble phantasm of Saber in terms of his command spell orders, there's one problem. It became something else and it ends up gushing out major mud whatsoever, and it ends up consuming Archer or Gilgamesh, etc. Eventually, we have to it that it ends up consuming a little bit of Fuyuki City as well, and it ends up causing a major fire. We end up having to see Ilias Field, etc. Ends up talking to herself or talking in her mind to her mother, like she became a cup and big 7 lumps was inside of her, and she was being torn apart because of it. Although her mother Irisfield tells her it's gonna be okay, your father's fighting for your life right now, etc. And in the end, we had to it that Fuyuki City was in major damaging ruins, and Kiritsugu wakes up in front of Gilgamesh, and Archer or Gilgamesh tells Kire or something. Sorry if I got these names mixed up. Kire. Yeah, I am so sorry for mixing up those names. I don't know why they sound so similar. Kire, of course, was waking up even after being shot and he has no heartbeat. Gilgamesh, on the other hand, tells Kire that this is the sight that you wanted to see. You wanted the Holy Grail and this is what you wanted to see. Kire laughs like a madman and realizes that this is so much destruction. What the hell am I? And he realizes that he needs to continue his search to understand this thing, and ends up going to saying that he will continue his search to understand this and see Angramanyu again, which we all know who that is unless you did major research or don't understand it very well, etc. And of course, Kire does see Kiritsugu and was about to fight him, but Kiritsugu himself looks like some bummed out old man who is really in depression because what he did in the end, thought he could save millions of lives. Instead, there's a lot more lives killed, but nothing compared to what he could have done back when he was in the last episode of Fate Zero second season. But eventually, Kiritsugu managed to find a little boy named Shiro, of course, which is revealed later, obviously, and decides to and manage to save his life, etc. And when it came to certain scenes with Rin's father, Tokiyomi Tosaka's funeral, apparently we have to it that Rin's mother somehow managed to survive, but her memory and brain is damaged so bad that she's unable to understand if her husband Tokiyomi is dead, and thought Sakura is still with them, but that's not the case. Kire, on the other hand, decides to give the Assault Dagger to Rin as a celebration to say that you're the head of the Tosaka family now. Hope you honor your father well. And of course, there is one scene with Kariya-kun, which apparently he ends up dying his last moments of saying he will help Sakura escape, but he has his last vision of having to be with Aoi-san, reign with her sister Sakura, and of course in the end he ends up dying after having that one happy moment in his life, and Sakura calls him an idiot for doing something stupid as you disobeyed Grandpa. As for Wave of Velvet himself, of course, he, on the other hand, decides to go on a traveling thing and decides to wants to stay with the grandma and grandpa for a little bit, which is they are fine by that. And of course, they talk about Alexander, of course, which Waver knows that he's dead, but never mentions the truth to them. And of course, there is this one scene with Saber back into her original world, the Battle of Callum, etc., which I'm pretty sure all you guys should know about the Arthur Legends of where King Arthur had the major injuries at, you know? And of course, Saber cries in despair and remembers the words of Lancelot telling her, because I fell in love with Guinevere and I couldn't stop myself from doing that, I was unable to forgive myself for what I've done. And therefore Saber cries in total mental agony, realizing of her kingship ways, etc. And Lancelot, continuing his speech to Saber when Saber heard it from him before he died, is like, you know, you never spoke of my many sins, you never sought atonement for me, and you just stood right with us with your justice and righteousness. But in the end, in my heart, I wanted to be judged by you. Had your anger judged me, had your righteousness condemned me, I would not have fallen on the path of madness and trying to save my eternal soul or try to find redemption of forgiveness of what my soul would have been like in the end. Of course, Saber cries in agony, says that I'm sorry, I am unworthy for this rightful place as king. And therefore, Lancelot tells Saber that there's one thing that I wish to tell you for sure, King Arthur. And therefore, Saber promises that she will win the Grail in the end, and Lancelot telling Saber that you, of all people, are the greatest kings of knights. Those who served before you, as I did, felt the very same way when you led us to victory, to war, to everything. You were the greatest king of kings of all time. This reminds me back then of how Ryder told Saber you never you may have indeed saved them, but you never led them. You never showed them what a true king should really be. And all you did was follow your own pretty ideals to the very end. But Lancelot somehow managed to prove Ryder wrong a bit by saying that you are the greatest of all kings, you know, etc. As for Kiritsugu, which is the rest of the episode, we have to it that he adopts the boy Shiro that he saved the life of, and ends up living at that same house whatsoever that he used as a base in peace. But at the same time, he does give a narration where he wanted to look at his daughter Ilya, but he was unable to because he didn't bring back the Grail and he failed his mission, so he never saw her again. And of course, there is a scene with Shiro and Kiritsugu, which was very emotional, and I didn't understand this much because it reminds me 3 years ago, which I never understood the connection at all. All I remember is that I watched Fate Zero before I watched Unlimited Blade Works TV series, etc. When these two were talking to each other, Kiritsugu told Shiro as a young kid that he wanted to become a hero of justice. And apparently Shiro goes well, what happened? Did you lose the dream? Did you give up? And Kiritsugu explained to Shiro yeah, I gave up. I mean, there were so many things I didn't understand in the end, and it was hard for me to even call myself a hero of justice in the end. I really wish I could have figured that out sooner. And of course Shiro says, well, since you can't do it, I'll take over. And Kiritsugu's really? He goes, and Shiro's yeah, you're old and adult now. And for the time being, I want you to let me handle all of this. Okay? Leave it to me. And therefore, Kiritsugu ends up saying, yeah, I could be at peace now. And then eventually he passed. And we all know why this happened to Kiritsugu in the end. I'm pretty sure you guys have not forgotten that Angramayu cursed him, and eventually, of course, Kiritsugu would lose little functions of his body as he wasn't as active as he was before. We all know that. And of course, there was a saber scene, of course, that had a light shone upon her eventually. But yeah. And it ends off there. Well, of course, the series does end off with Kiritsugu and Shiro talking to each other in Kiritsugu's last peaceful moment before he passes on. So overall, just rewatching the series reminds me so much nostalgia. Reminds me like how I watched the series back then and never understood it. But after going back and forth, and just rewatching again, prepping up for Heaven's Feel movie, which is coming out tomorrow, which I plan to watch or something. If you guys don't believe me, this is the proof around here. Reminds me a lot of like how I didn't make those connections, but later on only just small ones here and there, and I later on understood it to this very end. Really is tragic, you know, but apparently the Heaven's Feel movie, which I will be planning to watch tomorrow, what I heard from a friend of mine and maybe other friends too, that the tragedy in Heaven's Feel is much worse than Fate Zero, that it just stomps on it by saying, you are nothing compared to me. If it's true, then I shall look at that truth tomorrow. So yeah, rewatching the series and rethinking about it, I think it was a pretty cool series and it was pretty slick in relation to almost a lot of things. How Fate Zero is always related to like to the other routes of Fate Stay Night and how they are really connected to this very end. Really had my fun. If I had to think about it and rescore it again, it'd just be an 8 to 9 out of 10 as usual. Just stick my score around there. I guess it was really pretty fun in terms of the animation, the music. Oh my gosh. Just reminds me so much of how I watch the series, how I just having nostalgia, just rewatching the series again and again. Especially watching Fate Zero again just to prep up for Heaven's Feel. Pretty slick. So until then, I'll see you guys in my next video. So I'm Alpha Zero people. Have a good day. And I'll see you guys next time, right? Peace out. Bye bye. Toodaloo!